What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Natal Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be talking about the karma and shadow energy attached to each zodiac sign and how you could better understand shadow work in general. So, let's get into it. So one of my main objectives in 2025, this being a 9-year numerology wise, is in the spirit of completion and fulfillment, really putting together the elements of my own personal journey that make me who I am. In other words, understanding more what I specialize in and really understand. And a lot of that is the areas that I have experience with on my own personal journey. And I definitely feel like I have great experience with shadow work. It is something that every single person on their spiritual journey will encounter, but it's not necessarily a straightforward thing to understand. What I want to do is give you my perspective on what shadow work is in a sense and how you can apply that understanding to energies within your own astrological chart. I want to preface this that if you come to me for a reading, whether that be a solar return, a transit, through my vision, I am able to see where there will be areas of shadow work that needed to be tended to. And one of the ways I'm able to see this is through Pisces, 12th house, and Neptune energy, particularly emphasis on the Neptune and the 12th house. Transits that may occur can really be activators for shadow work. When we bring in Neptune, this really comes into play via your aspects, particularly to progress planets. So to give an example, let's say a person is experiencing a transit where their progressed moon is now in aspect to maybe a natal or transiting Neptune, which can really bring about heavy Neptunian themes in their life, but based on the actual aspect that it's making, whether it's square or trine, we'll see how that plays out. But this is a time in which you'll get in tune with your shadow. I know it sounds big and bad and like something to be feared because we call it the shadow, but everyone's shadow is different in nature. And the easiest way for you to understand what the shadow is that whatever is being shown outwardly is not it. The shadow resides in what is not shown, what is not expressed. On a more psychological level, the energies go into this area when there has been a repeated pattern or unwillingness to express this particular energy. A great example would be Mars. Mars is the planet of energy, action, willpower, aggression. If the individual, whoever they may be, within their life or lifetimes, develops this pattern of not honoring the Mars energy in the way in which it needs to, the shadow expression then becomes the energy that has not been honored. The person says or makes on a conscious level the decision that I am now going to display anger, maybe in a traditional sense. I don't want to let others see me in this angry state, right? They made that decision. So therefore, the energy of anger or aggressiveness gets pushed into the shadow. And what can occur is that the individual impulsively at times displays fits of anger, but the key thing that makes it shadow work, or what the individual is working at integrating is how they feel or identify with the expression of that energy, which in this case is anger. So take it as someone with Mars in the 12th. And if there's any other Mars in the 12th or Mars in Pisces out there, let me know. It's been a journey of understanding that anger or aggression can be healthy. And the key within the shadow expression is allowing or accepting the energy to come through in positive ways. And in the same example, we could use the gym or becoming an athlete or someone becoming a boxer. In this day and age, I'm still amazed. MMA is like a thing. It's almost an instinctual thing to need to compete in a particular type of way or display particular Martian faculties, i.e. Mars correlating to the first house, Aries, physicality, all of that, okay? That's just one example of shadow work or shadow expression and understanding how it develops and comes about. I can go on, but I want to get to the astrology. So I would say this. If you want to understand your shadow more, feel free to see me for a consultation or a reading. And when you apply for the reading, just let me know you'd like to know more about a particular area you feel like maybe shadow work for you. And as I've given this example, that'll correlate to energy that needs to be expressed in a particular manner that maybe you have a hard time doing so. But it can also be something more unconscious, particularly shadow relationship dynamics are a very deep thing and they play out through others. I want to get to the signs here and give a little bit of insight for each. But like I said, if you're interested, just reach out and let me know. And also, hit that like button for me, share this video, drop a comment, let me know how you're enjoying it. So when it comes to the karma or shadow energy of Aries, on one level, this can be corresponding to our physical body, our confidence, which can stem from how we feel about our body, but also because of Mars having influence here, this can correspond to the things that I gave an example of, displaying our masculinity or aggressiveness in particular ways. Let's say we have someone with prominent Aries energy within a psychic house, like the 4th, the 8th, or the 12th. This can be someone who is here experiencing shadow work in the sense of trying to develop those things or correct patterns around the shadow expression of that energy. Now, the shadow energy of Taurus is really going to be contingent on our conditioning. In a nutshell, this shadow energy deals with either the denial of pleasure or too much pleasure. But to understand that and how we feel our comfortableness with pleasure. But all of that is conditioned by our outward circumstances. So during these transits, you'll be forced to reckon with what is things like healthy pleasure. Okay. The shadow expression of Gemini energy will really deal with honoring your true intellect, embracing possibly your inner nerd, or in another sense, your need to give your inner nerd some structure to embrace that. So an example I can use is if you're born into an environment in which intellect or your interests aren't valued, you may yourself not play towards your intelligence and make the correct decisions. Cancer shadow energy really deals with honoring your own true emotions. And once again, this is going to be contingent on our emotional conditioning, our familial circumstances. Let's say we have an oldest child who Pluto may have been in their 4th house and they feel like they raised all their siblings. Their idea of family and motherhood or parenthood is going to differ greatly from someone who didn't have that burden early on. So the shadow expression lies where like, on the outward, I may seem devoted to family, but my shadow expression needs to be I need to emotionally heal or devote to myself. With Leo, this is an interesting one. And I even say, if you out there watching and you got Chiron in Leo, Chiron in the 5th house, this is about allowing yourself to be great. Your shadow is about allowing yourself to embrace all that you know you are. And a great example of this is like in the physical sense, people with this alignment or shadow may not recognize how attractive they are. Okay. Now I have to give you the flip side of this, because of course this is Leo. So next side, this can be narcissism. You could be so far gone that you're not relating correctly to others at a particular level. So we've talked about narcissism here with Leo energy. Where this ends up will greatly, tell the story of how that, plays out or is seen. But like I said, I like to focus on the other side of like playing towards your greatness and honoring that. And I always say this too, Leo of all signs is allowed to be arrogant. But if you have 5th house energies and stuff like North Node in the 5th, you may be also learning this, that there's a need, as a time and a place for arrogance and, to pop your shit. The Virgo shadow is a complex one. It's an interesting one. I've been noted of saying this on my astrological journey, that I think Virgo is the sign of all that actually sometimes needs an affair or needs some type of fun, some type of getaway, escape, healthy escape. That might be, excitement and things of that nature. So here in the Virgo shadow, you might have, I'm going to use a librarian, right? Because just someone who's very dedicated to their work or craft, internally the shadow might be begging to, be unregimented and have some fun and, just let loose. And honoring your shadow is like, what is it? Work hard, play hard. Yeah, work hard, play hard. There you go. If I'm work hard, I need to play hard too, right? Libra, shadow energy, interesting one. I find that in different houses, this is definitely going to cause different things. But in a particular sense, it's advocating for yourself, not being afraid to let injustice be known, or kind of letting others see themselves through you. There's a lot of ways this can play out. But sometimes for certain positions, this may deal with like reflecting karma to people, right? So that would be the shadow expression, where on the surface, Libra's like, I don't want to rock the boat, but you might need to actually rock the boat to teach people something. Shadow expression of Scorpio. I'm going to start here because this is kind of what we always overlook about Scorpio. Yes, it's the sign of sex and sexuality. However, it's a sign of emotional intensity. Part of the Scorpio shadow could be in suppressing that emotional intensity. And I got to be real with you, as an observer and someone who knows people with Scorpio energy personally, that's not always a bad thing. I think the important thing is finding a place in which they feel safe to express that emotional intensity. Another side of this coin will be one's sexuality and sexual desires. In a more collective sense, a more collective Scorpio type of shadow energy could be the suppression of sexual appetites or things you may want to try or not be able to express out of shame and all of that. So as we said before with the shadow, part of the key thing is learning to feel comfortable with the energy or express it in a healthy manner. Okay. The Sagittarius shadow is also one that's going to be heavily contingent on circumstance and what has been conditioned. But at the root, it deals with suppression of freedom, or rather within the expression of the shadow would be the expression of freedom, things that allow one to feel free. Now that can be through your beliefs. Now, and if you come from a family in which you were told what to believe, of course, that can be a thing. A core central one I could hit at is, remember, Sagittariuses are supposed to be movers and shakers. They're supposed to have a zest for life. And you know, I have plenty of Sagittariuses in my life. And one of them identifies as like introverted extrovert. You are who you are internally, but as Sag is your sun sign, you're supposed to be here living it up, embracing people, experiences, and ultimately what you love. When that isn't occurring, there's a deep problem there. The Capricorn shadow is going to center in on materialism. When we aren't honoring Capricorn energy correctly is when we aren't seeking out achievement or seeking to be better or embracing responsibility. I'm getting to an age, I'm sure many of you out there are as well, where we can't relate to those who don't want to work, who don't understand the concept of work is rooted in self-survival. But the elevated Capricorn level is like self-attainment through your work. So a shadow expression of Capricorn internally would involve needing to invoke more seriousness or focus or attainment on the outside. So all the people we know who are like slackers, they're not embracing their Capricorn shadow to some extent. Aquarius. This is about being different. I see this a lot through the ruling planet, one of the ruling planets of Aquarius, and that's Uranus. Many times when Uranus is in the 12th house particularly, these are going to be people who may come from spiritual lineages, have some type of spiritual acumen or natural gift, but it's kind of hard to embrace. So simply put, the embracing of your Aquarius shadow is just the embracing of your uniqueness, the fully identifying that I'm not like them, I'm not like them. I may want to be, but ultimately this is who I am, and I got to play to it. An example that I always give when teaching this one, and it throws students off, is like that of an athlete. Let's say a tall person, you know, being different, standing out. If you're 7 foot or really tall in middle school, that puts you in an Aquarius position. But at the same time, it gives you the ability to access your Leo, give you a chance to stand out and actualize your individuality, which is rooted within your height. Okay. So if a person doesn't want to embrace their height and let's say play sports and all the good things that could come with that, then they aren't really expressing that Aquarius energy to the fullest. The Pisces shadow would deal with needing to express interest and accept the greater mysteries of life. This one is a pretty interesting one to see. I'm convinced that people out there like Neil deGrasse Tyson truly believe in this stuff. And honestly, on a spiritual level, they're really powerful. But based on how life is, they've chosen to play the role that they're playing, which really reflects their true shadow self. But on the outward, it's like, I don't believe in any of that. That's the Pisces shadow in a nutshell. Another one also deals with the victimization here. Ultimately, what you learn here within Pisces at the higher vibration is a need to take responsibility for the hardships of the world. The fact that it kind of is what it is sometimes. The harsh truths that, you know, bad things happen to good people sometimes. And sometimes being good doesn't always mean you're going to win in the end, things like that. When you're willing to accept that, right? And then sometimes, like I said, even your own hardships, spiritually, you grow and you stay away from that mode of like, things are happening to me. You're able to tune into the inner wisdom that just lets you understand it is what it is. So I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. Feel free to chime in. Let me know how it was for you. Go to my website if you need a reading, GeminiBrown.com. Check out my book, Astrology of the Matrix, my album, The Sun of Gemini 2. Until next time, peace.